Hi everyone, my name is Tierney. Welcome to the Tears Take. I upload weekly recaps of reality shows, so if you love the Real Housewives and all of their antics, this channel is for you. Today I'm going to go ahead and recap the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 3. It's called High Notes and Cheap Shots. I'm going to walk you through scene by scene and give you my reaction to each of them. So if you're here for that, let's keep on going. But wait, before we do actually get started, please go ahead, like the video, subscribe if this is the kind of content that you like. It really helps boost the video and it helps send my video to other Bravo lovers like yourself. So thanks in advance. All right, so before we go through scene by scene, I want to take literally 1 minute touching on the taglines of the season. I'm just going to give you my reaction to each. So with Portia, girl, I'm kind of over the peach juice talk. It's creative, it's cute. It was really funny the first season that you talked about it when that was your alter ego, but we know the season that it was from. So unless you want to give us some of those Bolo details and how he enjoyed the peach juice, I don't really want to hear it anymore. So I'm kind of over that. Drew, I liked hers. It was clever, it was shady, it was relevant to the season. So I think hers was probably the best. Then in the middle, I would say Shamea's was good. Again, it was relevant to how people kind of perceive her. It's relevant to the things that were talked about this season so far. So I liked it. Kelly's and Angela's were okay. They were kind of really mid. They were still a step up from Brittany's. I felt like hers was just really basic. I think we've heard 10 other versions of that at this point. So I think Britt's probably at the bottom. Then Portia, because I'm just kind of tired of hearing it. Then we have Kelly and Angela in the middle, Shamea, and then I would say probably Drew at the top because she's not in the basement. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So the episode opens up with Britt and her husband having his family over to have some dinner. She has a chef going. I was like, yes, ma'am. She is talking in her confessional that, she was lit since day one because she was a video vixen in high school. And girl, I told you in another recap to don't tell people that. That's not the flex you think it is. But okay, so she was a video vixen. And she said, she dated over the top guys, the rappers, the ballers. But Mike, her husband, was more low key. She said she wanted to be a wife. I mentioned this in my last recap. She wanted to be a wife, so she had to find a husband. And I'm like, did you just want a ring? Because I have a feeling if one of these ballers that you were just messing with gave you a ring and gave you any old thing, seems like you would have just accepted it. It didn't seem like I needed someone to really connect with, and I wanted to have someone I saw a future with, and I wanted to build with someone. She has not said any of that so far. She has said, I wanted a husband. I wanted to be a wife. And, this guy Mike wasn't, one of these knuckleheads who was cheating on me probably, so I'm just going with him. Okay. So her family comes over and they are just chatting about, how things are with the girls. And she brings up Kenya again. Girl, it's giving obsessed. Kenya has done nothing to you. And I saw in the next episode that y'all are getting into it again. Well, not again. You're going to get into it with Kenya. I don't know. It just seemed like you were gunning for her this season. Whatever. I'll keep an open mind, but you have been talking about this girl nonstop, and Kenya has done nothing to you. It's really weird. So anyway, she brings up Kenya again, like, oh, Kenya was, she was a little hard to get along with, or whatever she said. Like, girl, hush. So her sister-in-law is asking her about, them doing their ceremony since they had the Zoom wedding. When are they going to do the real ceremony? When are they thinking about having kids? And as she's asking Mike and Britt this, Mike is avoiding the answers as usual. It's so strange. I'm just like, are y'all not on the same page? Do you not want to have kids? You should probably tell her now before she goes through all that pain and then ends up like a potentially single mother, because it seems like you don't even care. You can have it one way or the other, and that's not how you should approach parenthood. So, so he's avoiding it. He's, being the weirdo he seems to be. And Britt takes her sister-in-law down to the wine cellar, and this is where she gives us some more information. These scenes are really weird to me because, again, she's telling her sister-in-law things that the audience would like to know. Like, I appreciated this scene and learning more about her, but it just wasn't authentic because these are things that the sister should have already known. And so she's like, my father passed away, and then, and I'm like, well, doesn't she know this? I don't know. Maybe I'm used to watching seasoned housewives because I know everyone, produces to an extent, and they might say, okay, hey girl, I'm going to bring you to this scene and we're going to talk about X. Like, I get that, but I don't know. This scene and Angela's scene later on, it felt so put on. I was like, all right. But I appreciated learning more about her. So she basically talks about like her father passing away. He was in between jobs. And so even though he had like a $2 million life insurance policy, that being in between jobs hindered her mother to have access to the policy. I don't know. So she started her own insurance agency. She brought in her sisters, and they always say, don't go into business with friends or family. And not shockingly, they fell out over business. And so she keeps saying, like, I'm a family girl. I'm all about family. She said it like 3 times this episode. And I'm like, if you have to keep saying it, then maybe you're more at fault than you're leading on, because she's making it seem like I just wanted to build this great company for my family and for my sisters. And, boo-hoo, woe is me that we fell out over business. But I'm all about family. And I'm like, are you? Because it's giving the way Teresa always talks about family. It's giving how Teresa from New Jersey Housewives, and it's getting how Caroline Manzo always talks about family, but then wrote a letter to free her sister's abuser out of jail. So it's like, you don't need, if you are about it, then just be about it, and you don't have to like sell it every 2 minutes. So we will see how this winds up. I said last time, maybe her man doesn't feel comfortable on camera, and I don't know. He's still not it for me. I am over him. He's not it. In the next scene, we see Portia having a sit down with Kelly. That food looked really good. I was looking at the menu. I was like, I need to go. But anyway, so they go to a restaurant called Lock and Key in Atlanta, obviously. And Kelly basically wanted to reach out, make sure that they're good, because Kelly's hosting an event that we're going to talk about later, and wants to just make sure the air is clear. And she has said that 3 times now, so we'll get to that in a minute. But she wants to make sure things are good before her event. So they're basically like a little awkward in the beginning. They're kind of just feeling each other out, just kind of seeing where each of them stand. And they talk about the comment that Kelly made about Portia taking somebody's husband, and Kelly starts lying about the tone. She's like, oh, I didn't say it like that. I said it, happy and joking, and I said it light. And it's like, how do you say that in a light tone? So then she said that Shamea suggested that she addresses her question directly to Portia. So then Portia kind of wonders why Kelly would even encourage that, because she's like, I'm going through a divorce. Shamea knows this. Why would she set me up to get ambushed? I'm like, girl, ambush is a strong word. And she gave you the heads up too. So it's like, you weren't ambushed. But, and I agree. I'm a little gray area on this issue, because I think when I first saw it, I was like, okay, it's good that Shamea is not being like the messenger and is like, you know what, talk to Portia about it if you care so much. I appreciated that. But then I'm also like, why do they even feel comfortable enough to go and badmouth her to you if they know that you're her best friend? So I know it's a show, and I know that the show is kind of based on the she said, and I'm going to take this back, and I'm going to tell her, and I'm going to carry this bone. So I get all of that. And that's why it's a gray area. But if we're talking about real life, I'm like, why were they even comfortable telling you this in the first place? Like, that's a little shady. But then I can also respect her of saying, hey, go talk to her directly, and then giving Portia the heads up, hey, this is what we talked about. So I'm like, kind of teetering on the fence there. So basically, they squash it, right? Which is great. I'm glad Portia just let it die. It was strange to me that Kelly kept saying, she said 3 times, I just wanted to clear the air. Well, girl, I'm glad we cleared the air. Like, she said clear the air a minimum of 3 times. In the edited version, 3 times. And I'm like, clear the air of what? Portia didn't know who you were. Portia didn't have an issue with you. You were just like running your mouth. And so, I don't know, clear the air is a little bit strong for the little situation that y'all had, but sure. And I also think this little like makeup was a little bit strategic on Portia's end. I think Portia is like, okay, I'd rather have this girl as a friend than an enemy, because she likes to, she likes to go there, and she's not afraid to ask kind of like the head honcho questions. And so I think Portia, one, just didn't even feel like addressing it, and probably didn't have the energy to go in deeper with this girl. And then 2, I think it was a little like strategic move, because even though Portia is not the smartest, she's still calculated, right? So I think she was kind of like, you know what, let me go ahead and befriend this girl, because I don't want her spraying more of my tea or bringing up more of my stuff. And so I can definitely see that being a motivation as well to make up. Moving on. So the next scene, we see Drew in the studio, and production was so funny. They had like the name of the song, and then it had like executive producer Dennis McKinley. I was like, y'all are too much. I was cracking up. So Kenya and Cynthia join Angela. I didn't even know that was Angela sitting there. She has such a, I don't know. But so then they talk about how Angela met Charles. She again says that they were neighbors, and she was using the concierge in the front desk to keep tabs on him and keep tabs of like who was visiting him, and kind of learn what he's doing when he's not with her. And I said, absolutely, I saw nothing wrong with that. So then Kenya asked Drew if Dennis should be there with them because he's the executive producer, and she's like looking all geeky, like she is like, oh, like she like changes the subject, like, oh, did you want champagne? And they're like, girl, we just asked you a question. And then she's like, oh, I know. And then she's like drinking, and they're like, girl, like, what's with the theatrics? Should he be here or not? Like, she looked like she was trying to come up with a lie. It was weird, and it was a very straightforward question. Oh, Drew. So then she basically was like, oh, I forget what she said. Like, yeah, he is supposed to be here. Yes, he's producing, but he isn't here for whatever reason. And then they ask if Drew talked to Dennis about the Portia situation. So then Drew is lying, and she's like, oh, I don't talk to him on the phone. Our relationship is strictly business. But then we see a flashback debunking both of those claims. So I'm just like, oh, Drew. Kenya tells Drew that she was dead wrong, reaching out and working with Dennis behind Portia's back. And Drew claims that she tried to reach out to Portia by texting her a few times. And then Cynthia in a confessional says that, like, you should have picked up the phone and called her. And in the scene, she told her, like, listen, baby daddies hit different. You have to be respectful when you are working with someone's baby daddy. So Angela and Drew talk about how they confronted Shamea. Cynthia points out that Portia doesn't need Shamea's backup. Drew said that Portia reached out to talk to her after Shamea's party. So, she at that moment feels hopeful about getting back on track with her. The next scene, Shamea meets with her sisters, and she basically talks about her oldest daughter, Shaya, having an upcoming surgery to take out her tonsils and adenoids. And she gives the confessional that her sisters have really been her support system. In this scene, she's just talking about how just life is lifing, and things, just like the issues are just never ending. She had her ectopic pregnancy. She's trying to work with another surrogate. Her kids are having health issues. And I'm just like, girl, I feel you. I feel you. Um, Basically, she highlights again the problem with her going through IVF again because her estrogen levels were so high that she could have had a stroke. She did 7 rounds of IVF. That's a lot. So I just appreciate her, again, bringing some heart to the show, highlighting different fertility journeys and different fertility topics because there are so many people watching this that relate to her. So I think that was great that she was able to just highlight that. Her sisters just try to make her feel better and just letting her know how amazing her kids are and, that they're there for her. So the next scene, we see Angela meeting up with her husband, Charles, at one of her rental properties. And so they talk about, like they walk us through the property. It looks great. And their interaction is so weird. Again, I don't know if it's just a husband that doesn't want to film, but like, I don't know. He's just giving nothing, or at least in this scene, he didn't. He was more talkative in earlier episodes, but like, or in the last episode, the first one, he didn't really say much. But in this scene, it was really awkward because he wasn't giving anything, and so as she's trying to have a conversation, she had to kind of carry the entire scene, and it was weird, and it looked so forced, and we would have had a problem if my husband signed on to do this and acted like that in a scene and made me look crazy. We would have a big problem. So then I don't know. This scene was weird because they go from like talking about the house. Maybe it was just edited weird. And then there's like a confessional of Angela saying that in 2017, Charles got banned from Madison Square Garden. They were newly married. He needed to heal. She couldn't heal him. So they had to live separately. And I'm like, what? I was like, I need answers because what does that Madison Square Garden incident have to do with you guys living separate? Like, that's a big jump from there was an incident and then it's like he needed to heal. I'm like, heal from what? Maybe we'll learn more about it. But it was a really weird. It was really vague. It was a strange confessional. And she said because they lived apart, they now want to renew their vows. And I'm like, hold up. So this situation happened in 2017. So how long did y'all live apart? Like, don't tell me y'all just came back together. Cause that's a damn divorce if you were living separate all this time. So she tried to like push her vow renewal storyline by saying, because we live separately now, I want a vow renewal. And I'm just like, girl, either way you slice and dice it, a vow renewal storyline has been done. It's tired. We don't care. Especially Charles. Like, he's not entertaining. I don't want him on my screen. So you might want to find something else. I'm more interested in seeing you flip these houses. That's honestly way more interesting. Seriously. That was weird. I don't know. And then they joke about like how much therapy they need to stay married. And I'm like, okay. Okay. So Randy Kessler, move over. I might just have a new favorite Atlanta divorce lawyer. Drew meets with her lawyer and they talk about how at the last hearing Ralph represented himself and cross-examined Drew. I was like, what? I was like, Atlanta is not a real place because all it did was remind me of Bob Whitfield versus Sheree and Ms. Parks and how he represented himself and outlawyered Phaedra. And I was just like, I was cracking up. But like, it's also kind of dark that he like felt comfortable enough to cross-examine. Like, that's weird. That is some manipulative, dark-ish, right? He is so weird. And let it be known that I called him Satan first back on the Twitter. So basically, in the way that he was carrying himself in the last hearing, the lawyer said that that was a confirmation she needed, because Drew had already told her that he's manipulative, he's controlling, and the lawyer was like, "Yeah, I saw it that day." Um, so then um, the lawyer says that Ralph is staying at their marital home because he claims that he can't pay for multiple places, but they can't confirm that because he's not sending over the right financial information. He's basically like dragging his feet. He's sending her forms, but half of them are Drew's, half of it's Drew's paperwork. And Drew said, he has access to all my money, but I don't know what he has. And I'm like, girl, you got it backwards. You're supposed to have access to his money, and he's not supposed to know what you have. I don't know who raised her, but mm-mm. And now I'm just wondering, like, what is he hiding? Like, is he hiding something, or is he just messing with Drew and just purposely just trying to annoy her and ruin her life? My thing is that they're about to, like, later on in the scene, they talk about him cheating. So it's like, if you don't want Drew, then leave. If you want to leave, then leave, and don't hold up the process. I don't know. It's like you want your cake and you want to eat it too, and you want your kids and you want your family, but then you don't want to treat your wife the right way. I don't know. It's stupid. Then the lawyer tells Drew that the case was sealed, but it's going to be unsealed by the judge. And Drew asked, well, what is that going to entail? What's that going to expose? And the judge said, let me tell you. And she just starts listing off things that have been in the court records. And let me tell you something. This judge gave me my entire life because she was spilling tea, and I'm sure she had some talking points that she wanted to go over with Drew, or that Drew wanted her to go over in the scene. Because like I said, everyone probably produces to some extent of like, hey, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to talk about how terrible Ralph is, and we're going to talk about him holding up the process. And, so I'm sure they did that. But she was delivering her lines just as natural. I was like, you need to give Britt and Angela some lessons, because I was like, yes, Miss Lawyer. I'm sorry I forget her name, but I was like, I like her. So anyway, so she was like, well, let's see what's going to be exposed. She said Ralph's a serial cheater. He was sexting other women. He took money out of her account. Other women actually confronted Drew over Ralph. He tracks her whereabouts. Remember, he had the weird surveillance system, and he was always like calling her, like, hey, where are you? Where are you? Like, are you sure you're at the store? Where are you? Did something happen? Like, because she took a pit stop at Portia's house. He's weird. He is such a weirdo. So anyway, yeah, so Ralph was doing a lot. I remember Drew's first season, I think it was season 13, that Kenya was going through her divorce. I don't know if it was officially the divorce yet, but it just was not going in the right direction. And then LaToya, who was the friend of, was also going through a divorce. And anytime Drew tried to shade them, she kept bringing up the fact that they were having problems in their marriage. And I was just like, girl, being married is it's great, it's wonderful, but it's not like some prize. Like, you're not stunting on somebody because you're married. You're not stunting on somebody because they're going through a divorce. And it's like, girl, they just got to the same place that you're at. They just got there faster than you. So what are you up here? And that's how I knew her marriage wasn't that good, because anytime you got to say she was just so self-righteous. Like, oh, you all need to stay married. Stay married, be on my side, be on the married side. Again, it's very much how Britt is talking about be a wife, and not just being married. She doesn't seem like you're basically talking about married, being married, and instead of just being married and having a fulfilling relationship. And instead of doing that, you're talking down to others who are having problems in their relationship. And it's just if you're so happily married, go be happily married. Why are you, why are you trying to make others feel bad for going through a divorce. So, we saw cracks early on in Drew's relationship, and here we are, 3-4 years later with her having a divorce storyline, which is not shocking. All right. So if you've made it this far and you're liking the content, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Please remember to subscribe and go ahead and share with a friend who you think will like this. I would really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your support. So then we have a quick scene of Shamea taking her daughter Shia to the hospital, and Shia is getting her tonsils and adenoids taken out. And it's so cute. Like, she's excited. She doesn't really grasp, that she's going into surgery. So she's actually excited about going to the hospital and seeing the doctor. Obviously, Shamea is nervous. They take some footage in the waiting room, and Shamea and her husband are both really nervous, and I completely get it. My son has had a couple of surgeries, nothing too crazy, but even though they were minor, it's still hard. So I completely get Shamea. So moving on, we see Portia and her mom, Miss Diane, going for, I don't know what they were doing. Was it a foot massage? Because it wasn't like a pedicure. It was like a foot spa or a foot massage or foot therapy, something with their feet. One thing about Miss Diane, she is going to support Portia in all of her foolery. I gotta say, somebody has to, right? So, thank you, Miss Diane, for just supporting Portia, child. So, and it's weird. I had a mention in my notes that didn't Portia look like K. Michelle trying to look like Portia? Because K. Michelle's surgery, I don't know, her second or third face, it kind of looks like Portia. And now Portia was in there looking like K. Michelle after surgery, who came out looking like Portia. I was like, she looked like K. Michelle to me for that. She looked like K. Michelle to me in that scene. But anyway, so Portia has a confessional, and she says she feels alone because, at least in her other divorce, she was able to talk with Cordell, but in this divorce, Simon's not talking to her at all. And Miss Diane points out that it looks like Portia's on an island by herself. Portia wants to break away from lawyers and just talk one-on-one, even if it's just for a short bit of time. Simon refuses to even do that, and I'm like, damn, Portia, what'd you do to this man? Portia says in the United States, lawyers just handle everything in divorces, but in Simon's culture, loved ones step in. But when Portia allegedly reached out, they allegedly were like, girl, bye. So, sorry, Portia. So then Portia tells her mom what the new girls told Shamea, and Diane is side-eyeing the situation because she was like, why would Shamea even bring that bone to you? And that's my question, is it's like, why were they even comfortable bringing that to you, talking about Portia to you? And like I said, it's a show. So yes, people are going to go back and forth, but in real life, I do not play that. Then we see Kelly's Mommy and Me event at Belmont, and she's raising awareness for osteogenesis imperfecta. It's basically a genetic disease that causes brittle bones. And while it was a great event, and I love that she was using her platform to really spread awareness, and, she was flexing, shutting down Balmain, and doing all the things. What was that outfit, Kelly? You looked like Madonna and Beetlejuice in Spain. That's what it was giving. I was like, that was a lot, but Kelly shares that she's been that girl. She's been working with Balmain, in different events, and she was able to shut down the store for her event. The proceeds from, this shopping event, a portion of that's going to go to the OI Foundation. And so it was a really nice event. And Portia arrives, saying that Drew was holding up her glam because they used the same people for hair and makeup. And when Drew was getting ready and she heard that they had to leave and go get Portia ready, she started slowing down intentionally. I was like, oh Lord. And then the messy ass hair and makeup people would have sit there and spread that. I'm like, oh Lord, y'all ain't even on the show and you trying to shake stuff up. So we just see, the ladies arrive with their daughters, and the little girls are just so cute. Like, oh my God, Kelly's twins, like they're all so cute. Brooklyn, PJ, like, so cute. Cynthia pulls Portia aside and, just pouring into her and just letting her know, hey, you're going to have good days and bad days, and, give yourself some grace through this divorce, which is sweet. But again, I'm like, Portia got herself in this mess. So Cheekbones had way more like empathy that I would be able to give to her at that point, but whatever. Portia asked Shamea about Angela, and Shamea mentioned Angela's retro nose. I was on the floor. I was like, what? And it made me laugh at first, but then how things took a turn, I did not like. So then Kenya encourages Drew to talk to Portia, and Drew was kind of hesitant. Angela approaches Shamea because she was like, hey, if you want, we can set up some time to talk and just kind of squash things. And Shamea was kind of nasty. Like, instead of saying, yeah, girl, let's talk about it at another time, she was like, well, yeah, I'll meet with Angela. I don't want to meet with Drew's representative. And I was like, people can easily call you Portia's representative. So like, not too much on calling out someone who's going up for a friend or doing, the most for a friend, because word on the street is that that's you. So I was like, okay, not too much on that. Angela returned serve real quick, and she was just like, okay, you're mean, Shamina. And then Shamea shades Angela's nose, and then Angela calls her Flava Flav. And I was like, ooh, we gonna stop that right here, because why are you calling her Flava Flav? Is it because she's dark skinned and has a short haircut? Because that's where my mind went. I was really confused. Angela tried to clean it up in the confessional and say, oh, because Flava Flav's the greatest hype man ever known, and Shamea is such a hype man for Portia. But I was like, no, because she shaded your nose, she shaded your looks. So usually if someone talks about your looks, you would usually talk about someone else's looks. Like, usually people go one for one with insults, right? And, there's nothing you can really say about Shamea. She's gorgeous. So she went for colorism. It was really, I was like, And I get it. I think people will say, you can't please other people's response. Like, she, said something about her nose first. And so, like, I get that. But I was like, I don't know. A botched nose job is real different than having like an undertone of like colorism or anti-blackness. And I did not like that. So now I'm looking at Miss Oakley with a side eye, because nope. But Shamea handled it well. She took it right in stride, and she was like, yeah, I was Flava Flav for Halloween, but Angela came as LaToya Jackson. Oh, shit. So that was funny, but I was like, we're not doing that. How did you guys feel about Angela's comment? Am I reaching, or were you kind of like, that didn't feel good? Let me know, because I feel like it crossed the threshold of shade. So basically, next, Shamea and Drew easily squashed things. Kelly's wrapping up the event, and she says the lady spent $30,000, and so a portion went to OI. Drew tried to approach Portia, but she didn't want to talk. Basically, Portia believes that Drew had a battery in her back because her sister was there with her, and Portia was not even trying to get into a 2-on-1 situation. And so, speaking of sisters, where's Lauren? She don't want to be on the show no more. We need Lauren to come back. I like Lauren. Bring her back. I want to see her again. Portia's sister. And like, that was pretty much it. Like I said, we see a preview going into next episode where Britt and Kenya get into it. And like I said, this whole time so far, it's been Brit like really like sensitive and like I said, almost gunning for Kenya. And so I'm pretty sure she's going to be doing the same thing next episode, and Kenya's going to say, "Don't come for me unless I send for you." So like I said, they're doing well. Oh, and whatever. Yeah, so like this episode was good. It had some, like I said, some really real tender moments with Shamea. She's really, again, bringing the heart of this episode. We've seen, we learned more about Brit's past and her family, and we're, we got to see Drew lying and talking to her lawyer. It was a good episode. I feel like there was a lot of meat there. So I am pleased. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Again, do you think that Angela went too low in what she was saying to Shamea? Or, is everything fair game? And what do you think is next for Drew and Portia? Do you think, well, I think we know. I feel like Portia's still mad at her now. But I guess, what do you think is next in the show? Do you think they'll, reconcile and then something else is going to come out? Or do you think their makeup is not going to go as planned? I don't know. We'll see. But do me a favor. If you like this video, please let me know. Give me a big thumbs up. And if you want more of my content, please subscribe. And I really just appreciate you watching. So I will see you guys in the next video.